Today I'll be covering how to streamline your practice using the Encounters tab and Patient Manager module in detail. This will help you improve your practice productivity and keep track of your patients better throughout their visit. During this webinar, you will learn the features and benefits of the Encounters tab and dashboard, how easy it is to set up, customize, and navigate the Encounters tab, and additional features that will improve your operational efficiency depending on your practice discipline. Now let's take a look at ABELMed's enhanced dashboard, the conduit to all important information, and the functions you'll need to help improve the overall efficiency of your practice. We're also going to customize the Encounters tab. First advantages of the Encounters section on the dashboard is that you can immediately view all the outstanding encounters and sign them off when you're done with them. This ensures that you don't forget to finish your note or follow up with the patient. Secondly, when we go to the Encounters tab, we can save you time by giving you instant access to many important functions such as investigations, previous encounters, CPP items, and the ability to create referral or consult letters or requisition forms all from one screen. We'll review those functions in more detail now. First of all, on the Encounters section of the dashboard, you can see your encounters here, all the ones that you created recently. And here you can highlight whatever one you want, and you'll be able to see the entire detail of the encounter on the right-hand side, what they came in for, what the diagnosis was, and if there was any plan to go for treatment. And then if you want, you can come to the dashboard. You can always open the encounter and it opens up in your regular encounter editor. And then you can add other notes or finish up fleshing out your encounter or your details or what you want to do as a follow-up with the patient. The other thing you can do, of course, is sign off the encounter so that once you're finished with them, they get signed off, they leave the dashboard and stay on the patient record forever. So if I were to go ahead and click on this knee pain one and hit sign off, it then marks it as signed off. And then if I were to wait 60 seconds or just hit refresh, it'll automatically remove it from the encounter list. So let's go into our encounter screen itself in the patient record. And we're going to talk about being able to customize the layout so that you can see all the information from one screen. So as you can see here, here's our encounter, and this is the main body of your encounter note, but you probably don't need as much space to fill the entire screen. By default, the encounter screen may look like this. I'm just clicking Reset Settings in the top right area. This will allow it to go back to the default layout, and this is most likely, if you haven't changed anything, what your encounter screen looks like. So what we'd first recommend doing is grabbing the mouse and moving it over here till you see your arrow change to an up and down arrow. This lets you grab and drag this border to make it larger. Then we can also, this decreases the space you have in the main window, but you don't really need all of that on most monitors. Now you can see more information here about the CPP. We can see their allergies, we can see their family history, health maintenance, any of the CPP categories that you like to view, as well as their medication history. I can go and see all the medications that they happen to be on at the moment. And I can even see their lab results here on the right without needing to leave this screen. So as a provider, you don't need to jump around to prescriptions, investigations, different sections without, or CPP. We can view that all from here. Also, let's say at the bottom here we have our encounter history. These are the previous encounters with the patient. You can see what they came in for, what the diagnosis was, what the plan or treatment was. And then you can also see the current encounter summary. And that takes all of your findings here that you have, summarizes them for you so you know what your encounter is going to look like. And this window you can leave here as well. Some people like to grab it. And if you grab the top here of this blue window, I can move it and you'll see I can snap it to a different part of the window. And this will allow me to have it side by side so I can see more information going vertically. And you can still make this a bit larger depending on how large your monitor is. So now on the right, I have all my CPP categories, my medication history, my lab results. And then here I have my encounter history and summary all on one screen, using up that horizontal space that a lot of monitors tend to have since they're wide screen. If there's a section that you don't want to see, you can just hit the X here in the corner and it'll get rid of it. So I just got rid of our current encounter history summary. And then we have our encounter history. If I don't want that, I can close that as well. You could also pin these items. So this one is now pinned, it can't be moved. If I unpin it, then it becomes a floating window I can move around with my mouse. If I ever mess it up like that, I've said, well, now I've lost all my categories. How do I bring them back? Well, you just click Reset Settings in the top right area, and that brings all the categories back, and then you can move them again to where you like them. So don't worry, you can't mess anything up. Please feel free to go into your Encounters tab and play around with the settings. Move things around, change the location of certain windows, and then once you have it the way you like it, it'll save the settings so that if I close this encounter, and now that I have that layout saved, if I go into this encounter or even to a different patient, and I open their encounter, it recognizes that this is the layout I like to use, and you'll see that it keeps that layout for all your patients. So that's a way of customizing your Encounters tab to really streamline your process so that you can see everything on one screen. You can also do things from the Encounters tab you may not realize, like one is being able to create medications or prescriptions right in your encounter. If I go and add a medication here, I can type in Tylenol or whatever the drug happens to be. And once I've written my prescription, and I'll just say 1 tablet QD for 1 week. There we go. So now I've done my prescription. And if I want, I can print the prescription. I can fax it from here if I set up electronic faxing, and it'll send it to the pharmacy directly. And if I save my encounter and when I close it, if I don't choose to print the prescription yet, it'll actually prompt me to print that prescription. You can also click New Form, and it allows you to create one of the requisition or other sort of PDF forms you may have in your office. I'm just going to use the Ontario Lab requisition. It'll bring up that form for you on the encounter screen here without having to leave, go to the Forms tab or anywhere else. And you can check off what test you want, save it, email it, print it, fax it, or even send it to the portal if you subscribe to that feature. You can also create referral or consult letters from here. So if I were to click Create Referral/Consult, it brings up the same window I would get when I'm on the referral consult screen, being able to create a consult note, being able to bring in all the parts of the CPP and other areas, and then once you click Finish, just like it would under the regular Referral/Consults tab, it's going to collect all that information and bring it into Microsoft Word to create that referral letter or consult letter. And here it is. So all of that can be done from the encounter screen. So as a provider, you don't need to jump around to different parts of the screen to save you time and to streamline your practice. Just going to close our patient, go back to our dashboard for a moment. And there, it's telling me, hey, I have some unprinted prescriptions. So if you haven't printed them, it will prompt you. For now, I'm going to say no. And we're back to our encounter screen. Next, we're going to show you the patient manager on the dashboard. The patient manager allows you to inform everyone in the office of the current appointment status of the patient. We'll quickly go through the valuable and time-saving functions. First, the setup, and then how to view and use the patient manager. And then we will cover how to track patient wait times, adding a patient to the appointment queue without an appointment, booking an appointment for a patient who's in the queue, and removing a patient from the queue and canceling an appointment. We're going to go into ABELMed now. And in the patient manager, the first thing you need to do, if you haven't done this already, is go to the settings. What this does is it lets you choose the different appointment states that go into each category. We can see here that the not arrived state would be things like confirmed or pre-confirmed or unconfirmed. It means that they're not yet in the office. Arrived would mean that, okay, they're arrived. I mean, you could have other ones like they're in the waiting room or something like that. We're in progress means that it's going to be rescheduled or it's in room 1. These again can be customized for your office so that we can have whatever type of exam rooms you have, whether it's room 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, or exam room, lab room, whatever. And then finally, the completed appointments, so the ones that are done and leaving. So I think what we're going to do is the reschedule should not be in progress. We're going to say if it's been billed or rescheduled, it's completed, and everything else is already set up. Then we want to know, well, when do we want to highlight our patient when they've waited longer than a certain amount of time? And you can set this to whatever you want. Currently, it's set to 15 minutes. And then we're going to say, well, what columns do we want to show? Right now, it's just showing I'm logged in as this fictional doctor, Dr. Peters, so I'm only going to be selecting their appointments. So then I hit save. So the first thing we notice is there's no one in our patient manager because there's no appointments for this doctor. So I'm going to go ahead and make an appointment. There's an appointment for our patient. If I go back to the patient manager and refresh, we can now see our patient is here. They're in the not arrived status. They're supposed to be coming in at 9:45. And so once the patient does arrive, I just, as the receptionist or whoever's handling the intake of the patient, they can come down here and say, okay, well, this patient is now arrived. And it moves them to the arrived status, and it begins counting how long are they waiting. You can see so far it's 0 minutes. While we're letting that sort of count, I'm going to go and add another appointment. We can say this one here be for Alex Smith, and we'll add another one for this patient, and one more. There we go. So now we have some appointments in our system, and if I refresh, you'll see our patient manager has them in the category of not arrived, and then Debbie is in the arrived status. Now we can see she's been waiting for 1 minute. These people are not yet arrived. You can then, let's say, someone walks up to your office as a walk-in patient. So I can click add to queue and I can ask them, are you a new patient or are you an existing patient? If they're an existing patient, then it just brings up the patient selection window and you can enter them in. If they're a new patient, what happens is it comes up and lets you bring in, add them in as a new patient. So let's say I'm going to add in um, Jerry Smith. And I could fill in all the date information, birth date, health card number, street address. Just some basic information is required. You can then pick who their provider is for today, and if you know who their family doctor is, any other information, that's great. If not, you can just click add. And what that does is it adds the new patient to the system, as well as adding them to our queue here. And then it also asks them what the reason for their visit. So let's say they're coming in for a cold. So you can see it adds Jerry Smith. They're not arrived, like they're not booked yet, basically, because they're a walk-up patient. And we can see they're started at 10:51. They're here for a cold. They've been waiting for 0 minutes. Debbie has been waiting for 2 minutes, and what I'm going to do now is I can actually click on Debbie and say she's now in room 1. So I've moved her on to the room 1. And also Alex Smith has now arrived. So we have a few patients not booked or not arrived, one in progress who's seeing the doctor. And our walk-up patient, what we can do here is if we're ready to book them, like with a doctor, say this is a walk-in clinic, you may have multiple doctors working. This is where you click the book button and actually choose where that patient's going to go. So I'm going to book them at 11:15 with Dr. Peters. And if I hit enter to book that appointment, you'll see it fills in the work to do for you. Everything that the patient manager asked will be filled in, and it puts that patient appointment right on the screen. And it also marks them as arrived for you because obviously if they're a walk-in patient, they're already arrived. So we're going to go back to the dashboard now and sort of refresh. And we can see Jerry Smith is now moved down into the arrived status. So we have 1 in progress, 2 arrived, and 2 that we're still waiting on. If we look down here in the corner now, you can see that it's calculated our longest wait time, which so far is 2 minutes, and the average wait time, which is 1 minute. It's also going to calculate, once Debbie's finished her appointment, how long the appointments take. So far it's taken her 2 minutes. So at this point, if I say Debbie is now completed, like she's billed, or the best thing about this is as you create a bill, it changes that for you. So if I go to our patient Debbie, she's in room 1, you can see here. The other ones are arrived, and these patients are not arrived. Debbie's in room 1, and as soon as I press B for bill, I can go ahead and create her service. Let's say it's just a basic A007. I've created the bill. And once the bill's been created, I can then go back to the scheduler. If I refresh, you'll notice it changes her appointment to B for billed. And if we look at the patient manager and refresh that, Debbie goes from in progress to completed. And we can see that her appointment time is finished at 2 minutes. We can then say, all right, well now Jerry Smith is going to be in room 1. And we can see we have patients in every progress bar here. We have them not booked or not arrived. We have them arrived, in progress, and completed and departed the office. So this information gets calculated in. You can see now our longest wait time is 3 minutes. Our average wait time is 2 minutes. And if we were to get another patient in room 1, we can calculate the average appointment time. We probably have to wait a couple more minutes for that to show up, but that would be the third number that shows up is the average appointment time. So that's what the patient manager can do. It allows you to deal with track patient wait times, adding in a patient without an appointment, like Jerry Smith, booking an appointment for a patient that's in the queue, and removing for the patient from a queue. So let's say this appointment here, we're going to cancel that appointment. So let's say we're removing, Bruce called in, they're canceling their appointment, they can't come in today, they gave us notice, so I'll say with notice, and it removes the appointment from the screen so that slot is open up for another patient. And if you look at the schedule here, we now have that slot available for a patient. But if I were to book in that person, he missed his appointment, it was June 6th, and it reminds you of that appointment the next time they come in, so you know that they did cancel. And that's just the final part of if you cancel an appointment, it makes a contact, and that contact will remind you that they did cancel their last appointment. So if you need to rebook it, this will be a reminder. Let's go back to the patient manager now, and we'll just refresh one more time. There, now you can see our final stat comes up. We have our longest wait time of 4 minutes, average wait time of 3 minutes, and our average appointment time also of 3 minutes. So a patient manager will track those times, calculate them, and if a patient calls in, you can easily give them, oh yeah, or average wait time is about 3 minutes, and our appointments are about 3 minutes, and you can tell them that without having to estimate yourself. Thanks for watching this training video. Please contact support if you have any questions or problems. Also check out myable.com, our portal for all the resources that will help you get more out of your ABELMed software. Please contact training if you'd like to schedule either on-site or web-based training.